Hi everyone, welcome back to the Rugby League History channel. Today I'm going to be doing my tips for round 2 of the 2024 NRL season. There were a lot of upsets in round 1 and a lot of tipsters out there didn't do particularly well. I think by halfway through the round some people were 0-5, so very tough for the tips out there. But let's see how we do in week 2 of the NRL season. And the first match is between Brisbane and South Sydney. This one's being played at Suburbs Stadium. Both of these sides lost in Las Vegas and they'll be looking for their first win of the year. In the last 10 meetings between these two sides, South Sydney have won 6 matches, Brisbane have won 4. And in 10 of these games, 6 times the winning team has scored more than 30 points. So these fixtures haven't been close, and there's been a lot of points scored as well. This is a really tough game to call, but I'm leaning more towards the home side, so I'm going to back Brisbane to win by 112 points on the Thursday there at Suncorp Stadium, and they'll get their first win of the year. And the first game on Friday night is between Cronulla Sutherland and Canterbury Bankstown. This one's being played at Shark Park. Cronulla have a very good record against Canterbury in recent times. They've won their last 6 matches against them. The last time Canterbury won against Cronulla was in round 7 of the 2021 NRL season at Kogarah Oval. Cronulla pulled off a huge upset in round 1, defeating New Zealand over there in Auckland. And as for Canterbury Bankstown, they lost against arch rivals Parramatta. They were always second best in that game. And to top things off for them, on a miserable day, Josh Addo-Carr suffered a pretty bad injury, so he's going to be out for an extended period. So for this game, I'm going to go for Cronulla to win by 112 points. I think Canterbury will put in a much better showing, but I'm going to go for Cronulla win at Shark Park. And the main match on the Friday is between Penrith and Parramatta. This one's being played at Penrith Stadium. In the last 10 meetings between these sides, Penrith have won 6 times, Parramatta's won 4 times. In total, there's been 109 matches played against these two sides. Parramatta 62 wins, Penrith 46 wins, and there's been 1 draw. With Parramatta, they defeated arch rivals Canterbury last week, and although it weren't the perfect performance, getting the win over the arch rivals is the main goal, and they look pretty good throughout. There were a couple of issues with the attack, but other than that, they looked okay. And as for Penrith, they've lost 2 matches in a row now. They lost against Wigan in the World Club Challenge final and then were held scoreless against Melbourne. However, I mean, they did have a lot of opportunities to score against Melbourne, but Melbourne's defence held them out. So they'll be looking to get their first win of the year, and of course they don't want to lose 3 matches in a row to start off the campaign. A lot's been said over the last couple of years with the fact that when it comes to the regular season, Parramatta seem to beat Penrith, but when it comes to the games that really matter, especially the finals matches, Penrith seem to defeat Parramatta. So it's a really tight game to call. My heart, of course, is always going to say Parramatta, but my head, with my head, I'm going to have to go for Penrith to win this. I think it's going to be a really good match out there at Penrith Stadium, but I'm leaning towards Penrith, so I'm going to go for Penrith to win a close one by 112 points. And the first match on Super Saturday is between Canberra and the West Tigers. This one's being played at Bruce Stadium. Canberra have a very good record against the West Tigers in recent times. They've won their last 7 matches in a row against them. The last time that West Tigers defeated Canberra were in round 22 of the 2018 NRL season. Of course, with Canberra, last week they pulled off a big upset, defeating Newcastle there on Thursday night, which were a result which surprised a lot of people, but they played quite well. With West Tigers, they'll be fresh. They had the bye in round 1, and I think they haven't played a match for 2 to 3 weeks, so they should be all fresh and ready to go. Of course, there's a lot of talk about Benji Marshall being the head coach and some of the players they've signed in the off-season. We'll have to see how they go, and even seeing that, people have tipped them to finish towards the bottom end of the table this year. But for this match, I'm leaning more towards Canberra. especially after how they played in round 1. I think they should beat the West Tigers, and I think that they'll beat them by 13 plus there on the Saturday. And the second match on Super Saturday is between North Queensland and Newcastle. This one's being played at the Queensland Country Bank Stadium in Townsville. North Queensland have a good record against Newcastle. They've won 7 out of the last 10 encounters, and Newcastle have a shocking record up in Townsville. The last time they beat them up there was in round 2 of the 2015 NRL season, and before that you have to go back all the way to 2011 as the last time that Newcastle had a good triumph there up in Townsville. In round 1, North Queensland were very impressive against Redcliffe, putting 40 plus points on them, and as for Newcastle, they were upset in round 1 against Canberra down there in Newcastle, and obviously their fans had a lot of high expectations going in that game. I know Tank 99 were absolutely fuming. He left before the end of full time, and then he was screaming in the car on the way home from the match. So not the best start of the season for Newcastle. For this game, I'm going to have to go for North Queensland to win. I think I'll go for them to win 13 plus there in Townsville on Saturday night. I think that's they look very impressive in round 1, and I just can't go against them, especially the way that they played at Suncorp Stadium. And the third match on Super Saturday is between Melbourne and New Zealand. This one's being played at Amy Park in Melbourne. Melbourne have a superior record against New Zealand, and they've won their last 14 matches in a row against them in the NRL. The last time that New Zealand beat them was in round 18 of the 2015 NRL season, and along the way Melbourne's given them some hidings in some of these games. 70 points to 10, 42-16, 42-20, 50 points to 6 and 50 points to 10 are some of the results I saw on Rugby League Project. In round 1, New Zealand were upset by Cronulla, and a lot of people expected them to win that game in front of a big crowd there in Auckland, and they lost. And every time Cronulla scored a try, a pin dropped inside the stadium. It was that quiet, you could hear it. But with Melbourne, they kept Penrith scoreless. A lot of people saying it was a very good defensive display. They just threw themselves at everything and managed to keep Penrith out. And going in this match, it's going to be really tough for New Zealand to break that defence down, or even to get a result out of this fixture. And with some of the results that Melbourne have scored in the past against New Zealand, I'm going to go for Melbourne to win by 13 plus there on the Saturday night. I think that they've got a bit of a hoodoo over New Zealand, and I think that will continue on Saturday. And the first match on Sunday is between Manly Warringah and Sydney Roosters. This one's being played at Brookvale Oval. Eastern Suburbs have won 8 of their last 10 matches against Manly Warringah in the NRL, and at Brookvale Oval their record, however, isn't very good there. They've played 60 matches against them since Manly came in 1947, and they've only won 16 times, and they've lost 43 of those, and there's been 1 draw, so they don't have the best record at Brookvale Oval. But in recent times in the NRL, it's a different story. Both of these teams won over in Las Vegas. Both of them were quite good in the wins as well, and they'll be looking to build on that. The only sort of really downer you can see it on Sydney Roosters' part is the racism allegation towards Spencer Leniu. Besides that, everything else seemed to go okay. And as for Manly, they're a hard team to read. I mean, year by year I don't know what to expect of Manly, and once again in round 1 and going into round 2 I'm not too sure. This is a really hard match to call. It could really go either way, but I just have kind of a feeling that Eastern Suburbs will win this game. I think it's going to be a really close one, high entertaining match, but I'll go for East to win by 1 to 12 points. I think it might even come down to a try or a penalty goal or something like that, but I think this is going to be a really good game on Sunday. And the final match to close out round 2 of the 2024 NRL season is Redcliffe against St George. This one's being played at the KO Stadium in Redcliffe. So Between these two sides, they've only ever played each other twice in the NRL, and they've both got one win apiece. Of course, in round one, both of them had contrasting games. With Redcliffe, they got absolutely hammered by North Queensland. Very embarrassing from them in round one, and compare that to round one in 2023 when they beat Eastern Suburbs in their first ever game in the NRL. Completely different turnaround to this year's 2024 start. And as for St George, for me, it were the upset of the week. A lot of people have predicted St George to come last or second last this year, and they went up to the Gold Coast, who had a lot of things going for them, new head coach and some new recruits, and they were playing at home, and St George put in a great performance, one of the best performances I've seen in them for a couple of years now, and it was like 2010 all over again. They were playing like they did back in them times. So going into this fixture, it's going to be really hard to call, because one team's going in full of confidence, the other one's a bit embarrassed, so we'll have to see how it goes. But in saying that, it's round one, and sometimes some of these things can happen, and I know it's a bit off topic, but I remember in relation to St George, back in 2013, Parramatta finished with the wooden spoon in 2012, and everyone wasn't giving us much hope for 2013, and in round one we beat New Zealand 40 points to 10, and everyone went, wow, where did this come from? And surely we're not going to come last this year, this team's totally different. And well, after round one things fell apart, so it might not happen to St George, but I'm just saying it's only round one, so we'll just have to see how they go for the rest of the season. But one thing about the NRL as well is that sometimes you've seen this in the past, teams get battered one week and then they come out the next week and they're a totally different team and they're a lot harder to beat. So I might sound a bit crazy, but I'm leaning more towards Redcliffe to win this game. So yeah, I'll tip Redcliffe to win, not with much confidence, but I just have this kind of feeling that they're going to bounce back after being humbled in round one. So I'll go for Redcliffe to win. So those are my tips for round 2 of the 2024 NRL season. Hope you enjoyed them. If you did, let me know in the comment section below, and let me know who you're tipping in round 2. Thanks to everyone that's recently been tuning in for the videos and been watching the channel. The last video I did, who's bigger between Parramatta and Canterbury, did quite well. If you haven't watched that, go and check it out. But anyways, this has been Rugby League History, and I'll catch us all later in the next video. Alright, tatty bye for now.